Hey guys, in this video, we've got another short course truck. On the bench, we have the Pro4 SC10 from Associated. And, you know, lately we've gotten some pretty cool ones. Over here, we've got the Traxxas Ultimate, and that's the Slash, and it's a short course truck. And we were really impressed with how well it handles. This one here, it's got some pretty good specifications to it, and it looks like it's going to be cool. And this one comes with a gyro as well, which should help with stability. In this video, we're going to get it out of the box. We're going to see what makes it tick. We're going to take it out and test it. And then at the end, you're going to get our 4 questions. Is it fun? Is it durable? Is it worth the money? And where does it stack up in the collection? Check this out. Okay, let's get this thing out of the box. The radio box. Oh, every time. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Mud guards. Looks like it's got lights on it. Ooh, it's not strapped down. Is it? Oh, it's strapped down in the front. Nice. Got our packet. Go. It's nice and light. Have a look at this. That's pretty cool. Size for size, it's really comparable to the Slash. It's got a lot of the same body design, it looks like. It's nice and light. It doesn't have a lot of weight to it, which should make it nimble. It should make it control pretty well. It does have a plastic chassis, and it looks like a lot of the build components share a lot of the same components as the MT10, which is a stupid durable truck. Once you change out the arms to RPM on that one, it's almost impossible to break the thing. This one here, it's got really good looking rear bumper, front bumper. It's got the absorbers in the back of it. It does have headlights and taillights. It does come with the mud flaps. This is pretty slick. Let's get inside and see what it is. But before we do that, let's show you what comes in the box. Okay, so this is the radio that comes with it, and this is the XP120, and this is typical for most of the Associated vehicles, and this one's got some pretty good controls with dual rates. It's got your steering trim, your throttle trim here, your reversing for your servos. The box says that this comes with a gyro in it, but I don't see any controls on here to actually adjust the gyro at all. I guess it is pretty much what it is. We've had a couple of these in the past, and the first one lasted approximately 5 batteries, and then it gave up completely, and we wound up changing out for one of these, and that was a pretty good upgrade. However, if it's working, this has pretty good range. The feel of it's good in the hand. I've got pretty big hands, and it feels pretty good to me. It's kind of light, and it does feel kind of cheap, but it does function as long as it's working. It also comes with a binding loop, so you can bind it to the car itself, the receiver, and this plugs straight into that to make that work. Inside the packet here, we've got the manual first, and let's pull this stuff out here and show you what's involved. First up, we have the manual, and these are really good. Associated puts a lot of effort into these, and if you take a look inside, you can see all of the artwork for each one of the parts plus the part number, and it's really well designed. It's really thought out good, and it does show you how things assemble once you get one tore apart. This should help you get things back together. Overall, a really good manual. Aside from that, we have a number plate assembly, and this attaches to the body, and it allows you to get your numbers on to complete the look of the vehicle, and it even comes with the mounting hardware for that. It does come with a rudimentary tool kit, and these are there's 3 Allen wrenches in there, and these are basic tools. So you can always do better than this, but at least the tools are there. Here is the manual for the radio itself. So this should walk you through everything you need to know about this. Then on this one, we have the speed control pamphlet, and this should walk you through what you need to know about the speed control, how things connect, how things work, and basics of that nature. This one here, this is a real small one, and we folded these out so you can see this is for the motor, and on the back it even has some troubleshooting tips and pointers right here to get everything up and running. And that's what comes in the packet. All right, but before we get down inside the car itself, there's one item that I really enjoy, and you only get to do this one time for each car, and when it's brand new, we got to get this plastic off. And this is so satisfying to just pull this back and get a look at this car when it's brand new. Always very satisfying. Have a look at this. Now, it does have kind of a plain paint job with the grays and the blues, but it really does pull the Associated look off very nicely. This paint scheme, it really does sit nicely with the MT10. It sit really good with the MT8 as well. The black wheels and tires on it, these got a really nice looking tread pattern. I don't know how well they'll handle till we get it out on the track, but look at the detail in the paint. Very cool. Let's see what makes it tick. All right, now it's time to get down inside of this thing and check this out. This right here has a net to protect all the radio gear and stuff in there. This is a really good feature, and this is the same thing that came with the MT10. It keeps all the dirt and debris out of the radio system, which is really good for the speed control because it eliminates the ability for stuff to get down inside of there and block the fan, causing heat issues. And if this comes off the same way, it just hooks on these tabs on the corners and lifts right off, just like that. It kind of looks like a hairnet, but it's designed for this specific vehicle. Inside here, we have a 3300 kV motor, and these are pretty hot. They're decent. I don't know what the radio gear is in there, so let's have a quick peek here, and it's pull this one little clip, and this rocks right open. And you can see down inside here that it has a 4-channel, and this is the R 4-channel radio system. So this is the R4, and it looks pretty good. It's got 1, 2, 3 plus an auxiliary port in the receiver, so that's pretty nice. This radio box here, you can see where the antenna's at right here, and it's not sealed, so this is not a waterproof box, but it should do the job if you keep it out of puddles and whatnot. And of course, you just put the clip right back in and everything is sealed. It has a pretty basic Reedy servo in it. This has a Reedy SC600BL speed control in it, and those work pretty good. It's a decent system. Reedy's been known for doing stuff correctly, and they've been doing it for a long time. This is real nice. Associated is known for their suspension. They do a smooth job. Every single Associated car that we have for the channel has this same very smooth suspension. It's got a nice long wheelbase to it. The tires have a good thickness to them. They're kind of nice and easy to manipulate, but they're not so soft that they should grow really bad. I think everything's going to work really good on this. It does have plastic drive axles, and the drive axles in the front look pretty big, and the ones in the back are, of course, they're the same back here. They have sway bars to them. It does have plastic shock towers and plastic body mount posts, so that should be, see how those will move? That should take impact and rollover without snapping off too bad. And it does have an inspection plate right here you can pull to get a look down inside of there. And of course, it does have a slipper clutch in the middle. This is 4-wheel drive, and the concussion rings back here are kind of a unique design, so they can take a little impact. See how those move? so they'll take up some of the impact. Front and back, everything feels pretty solid. It does have the aluminum brackets here and here for your hinge pins, so everything should have some good grip right there. On the MT10, we did have to take these off and replace them with the RPM ones. I don't know if RPM makes them for this yet, but if we do have issues with the arms, that solved all the problems on the MT10. It really does look like it's built the same way, which means the front end and the rear end come off very simply. There's just a few screws and the whole tail comes off. Same thing on the front. Everything is really simple to get at. It looks like it might be kind of difficult to manage, but actually it's very simple. Okay, so there you go. That's what's inside the Pro4 SC10 from Associated, and it looks like a pretty cool little car. Like I say, it's nice and light, and it does play out nicely as far as all the layout and things goes. But let's do a little side-by-side comparison with the Traxxas Ultimate. We'll take a look at the wheelbase here, and we'll look and see how close those are, and they appear to be identical as far as the footprint goes. Let's do a little weight comparison. This is just going to be a rough and dirty one, but we'll just see what they feel like side by side. Side by side, they weigh just about the same. The difference would be negligible. And as far as the bodies go, they do look very similar. So you know what that means, guys. There's only one thing left to do. Let's take it out and test it. Check this out. All right, so there's the running footage for the Pro4 SC10 from Associated. Now, this car is pretty cool. It is 10 scale. It's got the same footprint as the Slash Ultimate, but it handles differently, and it is not nearly as nimble as the Slash. It does have a whole lot of power, but there are a few things about this car we need to get into. Still, under 3S conditions, which is what we test all these at, under 3S conditions, this gets really squirrely on the pavement, and it gets a little out of pocket in the dirt as well. And I realize these will run at 2S, but that's not the way we do our testing. Keep in mind, these tests are our opinion only and shouldn't reflect how you drive yours. If you take yours to the track, if you run it in different conditions, if it's a car that you absolutely love, that's all good stuff. That does not reflect on how we test ours. This is our level playing field. It's the same way we do things with the other cars like the Typhons. You have the TLR, you've got the standard 6S, the 3S. We test them all the same way, and we put basically the same running gear in each one, and we do that for a reason. We want to know how they stack up in RTR conditions, because most people are going to get them out of the box. They're going to set them up with what they recommend, which is usually what comes with the RTR, and that's the way we run them. If we run the same running gear in each car, we can tell the differences between them without doing setup. Keep in mind that we change nothing in the suspension. We leave it the way it comes out of the box. We don't change the running gear unless something breaks, and we don't change any parts unless it breaks and needs replacement. And this one does have a little of that we had to do. So let's get started with this. Check this out. All right, so let's get right into what happened with the car. And you know, we do run these in some pretty tough conditions. However, the damage that we incurred from this happened almost immediately, and what comes down to is, here are the shock absorbers, and these are plastic throughout. They do have the steel shaft on them, but the rest of it is plastic all the way through, and there's this little cup here. So let's get this apart real quick. I'll show you what it is. So these shock absorbers are pretty straightforward and simple. However, they are completely plastic, and there are some really fine threads in here. Now take a look at this. This right here threads on, and this holds the two O-rings and the spacer. Okay, so this piece right here stripped out, and it stripped out immediately, and it made everything start to wobble in there. Nothing stayed steady, and it immediately evacuated all of the fluid that's in it, and it pretty much just shot the shock and turned it into a spring. And that happened right after we got off the pavement and we were on track conditions where it's just pretty much flat dirt, and we were ripping back and forth. Nothing too aggressive, nothing too out of pocket. It's the same kind of stuff you'd use on a track. And this, it just stripped out, and you see, I just push it on, no threads required. It pushed straight on. It's just junk. So this one went bad, and we did wind up doing an upgrade for it. And the upgrade we put on it is, these are shocks that we had here. We'd bought them for the Vortex, but they're big bore shocks. They're aluminum. We got them from eBay, and all we did was search Vortex, and these came up. Now they're just a little bit shorter, not a lot, just a little bit, and it crouched the car a little, and it got that center of gravity down a little better. And I really kind of like that about it. I did put some 35K fluid in here. That's a little stiff, guys. It's just a little bit too heavy. I didn't have any 25 or anything lighter to put in it. So for now, that's just what we're gonna have. We changed all four, and now it sits really good. It sits a lot closer to how, when you add a little suspension crouch to it, it sits a little bit more like the Slash does. So the center of gravity is a little bit lower. With a lighter fluid, it'll give a little bit better. And I'm not sure what we're going to think of the springs yet, but that was a mandatory replacement when the shock went bad. That's the first problem. So let's get on with problem number 2. And you wouldn't expect this one, but I've had this on a lot of these short course trucks. And what it comes down to is the tires. Now I've got a different set of tires on it for display here, but these are the ones that go to it, and these are the Associated SC tires. And the problem is, in the back, if you look, it's got a much bigger wheel here. Everything's all good on this side. Everything held really nicely. But if you take a good look at this, those are not even glued. You can get them apart with very little effort, and I didn't even have to try, and they're loose. They didn't glue them very well, and they came apart almost immediately. And when we pulled them apart and looked in here, there was no glue in the bottom at all. It was just on the rim, like they assembled the tire, put a little glue around the edge and called it a day. Here's the problem. It did it to all four. All four of them, same thing, no glue here. They just came apart and started vibrating really badly, and it is just a matter of improper gluing. So if you do get one of these, definitely have a look at the glue work on the tires. These seem to be pretty decent tires, but if you can't hold them on the wheel, they're junk, and that's just how that is for these things. So we did check all four, and we have the same issue with all four. However, all four held on the inside. Okay, so let's get down to our third and final problem, and it comes down to the radio system. Now, the radio handled just fine. The transmitter worked good, but there are no controls for what I read on the box as this should have a gyro in it. However, there's nothing on the radio control one. There's nothing there, and down in the car, there's nothing down in the car either. It basically doesn't have one, and I read on the box that it should. I couldn't get any kind of activity or any type for the gyro to handle, so it runs just like a gyroless car, and it probably is one, but I did catch on the box that it's supposed to have one. All right, so on that note, I was just checking to make sure I hadn't lost my mind here, so we opened it back up and had another look, and this has the XPR4 in it. And we got out the manual just to do some more research on the situation because we wanted to be sure. This has two options for the radio's receiver, and in order for this to have the gyro, it needs to have the DVC system in it. This one doesn't, it just has the XP, so it didn't come with the gyro. But if you look on the box, and I'll get you a close-up of this, but right here, it says on the box that it comes with the gyro, and this isn't optional stuff. It says it's in the box, but it's not. So that's where my confusion came in. So you know what that means, guys? There's only one thing left to do. It's time to get on with our 4 questions. So if you've seen the channel before, you know what the questions are. Is it fun? Is it durable? Is it worth the money? And where does it stack up in our collection? So let's get on with question number 1. Is this thing fun? Well, yeah, it's fun, but I'd say the experience level needed for 3S is a little higher than, say, your brand new driver would want. I'd say under 2S conditions, it probably will handle a lot better, quite a bit more manageable, but at 3S, this thing is sketchy. It's really, especially with no gyro system in there for assistance, it gets pretty sketchy to drive. Now with the advanced level driver, someone that's really adept with the throttle, you can get it to do what you want it to, and I was able to get it to do most everything I wanted it to do, but it was real easy to get it to spin out, hook hard, and get out of pocket. It does like to do that on 3S, which is our testing conditions. However, I like the stance, I like the way it sits now, especially with the changeover in the shock absorbers, and with some tuning, we might just get it there, especially if we add a gyro to it that should help with that torque control when you're trying to accelerate on a straight, area. You get into some areas where it starts to want to pull. The gyro can definitely help in that capacity. So for me, is this thing fun? I'd say yeah, it is fun. However, I wouldn't say 3S is a beginner level battery for this. That all taken into account, I'm going to give this one 7 out of 10 for fun. And question number 2, is it durable? Well, we did have some issues with the car, but we really only broke one item, and of course that's the shock absorber. Everything else held up. The tires did come loose, but that's just a gluing issue, and that can be dealt with just pretty easy to re-glue the tires and get them back in place. Other than that, if you take a close look at things here, everything in the car, from the arms to the linkages, everything. The bumpers held up good, front and rear. You saw the video. We weren't playing nice. And this held up really good. We didn't have any gearing issues in the motor. Nothing slipped. Everything held up in place. The servo is still functioning properly. We did swap out the tires just for display. I mentioned that earlier, but even the tires themselves, there were no rips, no tears, just needed the gluing. So everything held up really well. So as far as that goes, where does this stack up for durability? I'm gonna give this one 8 out of 10 for durability. It really sucks that the shocks came with that just plastic set in there and they just don't have what's necessary to get the job done. And question number 3, is it worth the money? Well, you know, rolling in right at about $350 for a car that's ready to run, add battery, pull trigger, you know, I'd say this is worth the money, but of course, we spent a lot more money than that on the Slash Ultimate back there. So the fact that it handles better makes a certain amount of sense. On a budget, you can get one of these cars and it's ready to go. And with some mild upgrades, you could probably get it to handle pretty well. The question is, will the dollar amount play a role? And what I mean by that is, if you bought this car for $350 and put $200 into it to get the upgrades that you're looking for, wouldn't that land you right at the Slash Ultimate already? And that means even with the $200 that you put into it, would it actually handle as well as the Slash? Now, we punished that one as well, and it is super durable. It's fast, it's controllable. Right now in the short course truck category, that one's leading the pack for all of those. But this one here, although it's super durable, it's not quite as easy to handle. And for that, I'm gonna give this one 7 out of 10 for value. And that leads us right into question number 4. Where does this stack up in our collection? You know, we've got a pretty diverse collection around here. And the only 10th scale car in the top 10 right now is the Traxxas Slash Ultimate. This one doesn't hold a candle to that one as far as that goes. With some upgrades and some modifications, this probably can get there. But out of the box, guys, this isn't even gonna make the top 10. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do. And don't forget that notification bell to stay informed of upcoming videos like this one. We really enjoy getting our hands on these new cars, and I'm not sure how new this one is to the hobby, but for us, this is the first we've seen of it, and we were glad to get to test it. I'm really kind of amped up about trying to see what we can get this thing to do, and can we get it to compete head-to-head with the Slash? Only time will tell. Here at the channel, we kind of got the short course truck bug, and we got on eBay and we bought a basket case Techno 410.3, and we're going to put that car together and we're going to give it a sample as well and see what that one's made of. And when we get it all together, we're going to do a shootout for all the short course cars that we have in the studio and see which one is king of the hill. So hey guys, if you have one of these and you know some tricks that we haven't covered yet, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep bashing guys.